Okay, hello and welcome to this Armstrong Bell webinar. We're going to be looking at the NEC MyCalls operator console. Before we get into the detail of how it works and demonstrate some calls, there are a few areas that I want to identify. Firstly, at the top here is the call control bar. You can see there are different icons to perform different actions. So if a call was to come in, I could click on that icon to answer. I can hold or transfer or park calls, or I can barge into a call if I'm permitted to do so. Some operators like the option of using point and click, but you can also use the keyboard and the function keys, and the numeric keypad to dial extensions. So that's the call control area. This second area here, these are your active calls. So at the moment we have no incoming calls into the console, but as calls come in they will appear in this active call area. The third section below is calls waiting. So when the operators have other calls coming in, we can view them right there and we can drag and drop them onto extensions, as you will see shortly. We can answer them in whatever order we want, and if you wanted the option, with an additional license, you can create a VIP list. This avoids the receptionist scrolling down looking for VIP callers. The VIP will go straight to the top. When we transfer calls to extensions, we want the extension to answer. But in some instances that could take a while, so calls will temporarily be in this fourth area here, calls being transferred. This can be useful if you're doing blind transfers to extensions and the person that you're transferring to just walks past you. You have the option to bring those calls back out of the transferred area. The next section is the parked calls area, so if we have a call and we put it on hold or park it, it will go into this area. This allows us to try to find somebody using paging or via a tannoy, for example. Whether the call is parked or in a transferring state, after a period of time it will automatically be recalled, and you can see when the call is presented back into the active window the history of where that call has been. The next area I want to show you is the company directory. So one way to find a user is to search by name. So just by putting MA into the search bar there, I bring up Marie, Mark, etc. and I can dial direct from the list. This section here shows our extensions and features and some shortcuts to things we use on a regular basis. We can have up to 100 buttons on this page, and we can add more pages. Here I've got a trade team, a warehouse group and an admin group, and so on. There is a function where if a call comes in for the trade team, instantly the trade tab would come to the front. This allows the receptionist to quickly see who in that department is available to take a call. And finally, the last section here is where we have speed dials for external contacts. You can put in a lot of shortcuts here, so it's easy to see how an experienced operator using the console could increase their productivity. Here you can also see links to external web pages or your intranet or CRM or Office applications. So now I'm going to bring a call into the console. The call will be presented in this area here. I can use the icon or click on the banner to answer. Now I can speak to the caller and ask where I can direct their call. They want to speak to James, so I click on James and I have a list of options here open to me. For example, I can blind transfer, so the caller will go straight to the extension and hopefully James would answer. Let's do that in this instance. We're going to blind transfer it, and you can see now that the transferred call is waiting in this area. So we're hoping that James picks up the phone, and now you can see that it's been presented back to the operator. It now has a history of where that call has been. So now you can say to the caller that James is not at his extension, but is there someone else that might be able to help? If you want to park the caller, that's the button down here. If I just press call park here, that has put the caller on hold. So I could now put out a tannoy call for James, and he could go to the nearest handset and pick that call up. Here we're not going to do that. I'm just going to let it time out, and you'll see that it will move back into the active call area, or I could drag it back into that area myself if I wanted to. And again, you will see where that call has been, and after 30 seconds, there it's timed out and represented back to us. So if I go back to James and right click, I can do a blind transfer, or I could put the caller into James's voicemail box. So I have various options of what I could do with that incoming caller. Okay, and we will demonstrate that a little further. So in a moment I'm just going to hang up this call now and show you how calls waiting will appear. So next we will get a mobile call in, and we'll get another call in as well. Okay, so here's the first call right now. I'm going to answer that and we can see the other call here. If the caller is identified in our directory, and I know that they always talk to James, I could just drag and drop the call onto James' extension. And as you can see here, the call is in the transferred area up until such time as James picks up the phone, which he now does. Note that all the time I'm still talking to the first caller, and I'm able to do that transfer without having to use the call control functions at all. You can see in the active field the caller is identified as Mark Rather Mobile, which was the first call that was answered. So you can see that I did the transfer of the second call without affecting the call I'm currently on. The caller name here has come from the directory, so it's just like calls to handsets. They show the caller's name and we can answer accordingly. Your receptionist will often know that certain people talk to particular individuals regularly, or they are expecting another attempt from a caller for an individual, so they are able to drag and drop without even answering. And when those calls are in the call waiting area, as I said before, I can create a VIP queue. So if you have calls waiting to be answered and the MD is maybe the 5th or 6th in the queue, you have the opportunity to just drag that call over to his secretary. The history of where the call has been to and where it's come back from is very useful if you've got another operator console that's doing the same tasks. If one operator has transferred it to another, it gives them visibility of where those calls have been, even though they may not have dealt with the call from the start. If calls come in for the trade team on their DDI number, this tab here will come instantly to the front, giving quick visibility of what extensions are available to take that call. So thinking about options for contacting users here, I will just right click on James. I can click to dial or send an instant message, or in this instance I will click email, which puts James' email address into a new message. You can enter the subject and content here and send it as you would any other email. Let's say you have a parcel in reception for James. So we can build template emails so that with a click or two we can tell James there's a parcel for him. Click on send and away we go. The time spent getting information to a user is greatly reduced. Okay, as a receptionist I also have the facility to put James on Do Not Disturb. As you can see, all calls or external or internal only. I could forward all his calls for him. Maybe he phoned in and he won't be in the office and wants his calls to go to a colleague as opposed to voicemail. Also we can change James's presence status. So if we say for example James has phoned in sick, I can click on sick here. He said he will be back in on Monday. I could put a time in there and put a reason. I put man flu previously, and his calls are going to his voicemail, or we could forward those to another extension. Click on OK, and you can see that James has now got a different icon. By hovering over the icon, you can see what day he is expected back and your notes. Other users with relevant applications can change presence manually and can schedule events. So if you go into meetings on a Monday between 9 and 12, it can automatically change the presence to in a meeting. You don't have to do it manually if that's the daily or weekly procedure you follow. Those people that just use Outlook can have an Outlook plugin, and they're able to set their presence so that everybody has visibility whether they're off sick or on holiday or in meetings. And again, everybody that has a user console or has MyCalls desktop can see whether James is on a call. The operators are usually the first people that know about people being off sick or going into meetings, and so being able to just right click and change the presence status is ideal for them. Okay, so we're just going to put James back into the office. Okay, now, within the operators console, we have an instant messaging feature, which is also available on MyCalls Lite. Just to demonstrate here, in a moment I'm going to set up an instant message. So I will send an invitation, and we can see right now that James is going to accept that invitation, and it has opened up a chat window. So I'm going to type hi, hopefully he will reply. There you go. You can invite other people into the group so that it becomes a conference. And again here you can also have templates. For the parcel example, we're going to use that template to send him a quick message, and hopefully he will reply by using a template called thank you. Again, just a very quick way that instant messages can help internal communication. It's important to point out that instant message conversations are recorded. Maybe it could be confidential, or it could be an emotional subject, or it could be a form of bullying, so it's a good idea to keep the history of instant messages. Okay, so in a moment I'm just going to close that down. So James is now going to go off hook as if he's making a call. And now in comes a call from a company called ABC Limited, presented into the active call area. Here it comes now. And I'm going to press answer. We're going to presume that this person wants to talk to James. We know he's off hook at the moment, so I can right click and transfer to his voicemail or park the call. James has got MyCalls desktop, so when we park a call we have the option to send him an instant message. But let's say I want to send him an email asking him to call this customer ABC Limited. I can just click on the templated email, please call, and you'll see the email that says, hi James, please call the telephone number for ABC Limited. It's taken this information from the directory and imported it into an email for me. So in just a few clicks I was able to send an email to James. Okay, so to round that off, if I was to bring a call in again, we answer it, I can drag and drop it onto James, but obviously we can see he's off hook, so what I should do is park the call. And you can see that the call is parked in this area here. James becomes available, he picks up the call, and you can see there it says that James is now on an incoming call. At this point, if I needed to contact him, I've got all the options there. I can email him, I have templated emails available to me, or I could IM him as he's got MyCalls desktop Lite or above. So we are very nearly at the end now of this MyCalls Operator Console webinar. Finally, within the console you have an address book here that allows you to import or add people into your directory. It's very simple, just right click, add the relevant information, click on OK, and once that's saved, then when a person phones in, that information is going to appear as we saw before when ABC Limited phoned in. And there we go. Thank you for joining us for this quick run through the NEC MyCalls Operator Console. I hope you found it useful. If you would like more information, please get in touch at armstrongbell.co.uk or call on 01527 834 850.